Hi, I'm Favorisk, your new favorite artist, and today I want to redraw an old artwork of mine. Here are some examples of redraws I've done in the past because sometimes it's nice to see how far you've come in your artistic journey. And here's the artwork I want to improve on. A generic cat girl. The first drawing is from 2015 and was done in Paint Tool SAI with a very cheap graphic tablet. The second one was done in Krita in 2019, and since 6 years have passed, it's time to improve on this old drawing. I want to focus on contrast, composition, improving the pose, and make her overall more fleshed out by, for example, giving her a less vague expression and better anatomy. Like every typical artist, I first had to look through Pinterest to get inspired, and I ended up with this mood board that encompasses the overall vibe, the graphic inspiration, possible rendering ideas, and also some clothes that I want to give her, since the first drawing didn't have any. Funnily enough, it's very Valentine's vibes, since I did this drawing in February. Let's start. I decided on canvas size A4 and started off with adding a 3D model into my canvas to get the anatomy right and a correct representation of the original pose. I even used the amazing hand scanner feature to get the exact hand pose that I wanted. Then it was already time to start the base sketch. I considered doing line art after the base sketch, but was satisfied with the outcome of the sketch and decided to use it as line art later. As you can see, I use my reference images as general guide to look at whenever I want to focus on a specific part, for example the way the lips look, or sticking to the original artwork's design. The goal is to not straight up copy my references, but get inspired by them and translate them into my own art style. I'm not a hater of tracing, but I personally want to improve drawing free-handed while still having references that hold my hand during the process. Having them also gives me inspiration to draw things differently than I would do free-handedly. I think by now you've noticed that I straight up started to draw out every detail of the finished drawing. But since I already have an idea of where this artwork is going, I don't need to plan out any general placements of things, and I have enough practice to correct myself as I go. The 3D model beneath is also a great support, so I can just get lost in the sketching process. Oftentimes I rely on the trusty Liquify tool to correct any placement mistakes too. I also use references when I don't know how to draw something from memory, like the cat ears in this case. In the 2019 version of this drawing, I made some lazy mistakes when I drew the cat ears, and that's why I tried to do it better this time. I'm still not 100% sure if I did it the correct way, but hey, still better than last time. After finishing the sketch, I begin to lay down the base colors that I will render out later. This is one of my favorite parts because this is where you can see your sketch coming to life. Sorry for jumping straight to the rendered face, but if you're interested, I can drop a rendering tutorial where I show my process in greater detail. Whenever I shade hair, I give it a very rough base shade with a big airbrush to give the highlights a direction. This is also a guide on where to deepen the shade and where to have a lighter hand with the shading in order to convey a brighter area. I do this with every part of the drawing, so shading will be easier in the whole process later. I love rendering so much that I'm guilty of starting drawings just to have something to render out, and get lost in the details and figuring out how the lighting affects the object that I'm rendering. I need to admit that I tend to have the same rendering habits for almost all my drawings. I love to have the light coming from the top right corner, so the shadow falls into the bottom left direction. It feels like second nature to me, and that's what I'm good at too. But I will try to get out of my comfort zone in my future artworks. From the very beginning, I wanted to add a graphic touch to the artwork, which is why I added the frame in the background and some other items in the foreground, like pearls and ribbons. Now let's have a look at the final speed paint, and tell me in the comments if you're interested in a more detailed tutorial about any part of my process. I would love to hear more about it, and it's sad that posting your art as a single image on social media does not do the hard work behind it any justice. By the way, if you're interested in seeing more of my art, have a look in the description of the video for my socials. And here is the finished artwork. Did we improve this drawing? Let's compare it to the previous versions. If I had to change anything about the latest version, I would love to improve even more on the pose next time. I think it still looks a bit unnatural and stiff. I do like that it's overall still very soft and pastel, and that I improved my rendering and anatomy in general. Constructive criticism is always welcome in the comments. I hope you had fun watching my video, and I see you in the next one.